to our audience and welcome to this episode of Into the Insights, where I'm joined by the lovely Alex and Zuzana from London Marine Insurance Services. Thanks very much for joining me today and for being able to come on to this episode. How are you both?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, thank you very much for your invite. We are happy to be here.
Lovely. No, it's great to have you. So I think a really good place to start is for you to both introduce yourselves, maybe a bit of background on yourselves as well, and how you've kind of reached to the point where you're at today, and then we can kind of roll on to company history after that.
Okay, Zuzana, do you want to go first?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Zuzana, as you said, and I've been working for London Marine since 2005. Started as a broking role, and since we developed the yacht program, I have started to work as a yacht underwriter, leading the underwriting team right now.
Great.
Yeah.
Lovely. And Alex, yourself?
Alex Brown. Hi. I'm one of the directors at London Marine. I've been there for quite a while now, and sort of overseeing really the growth side of the business and sort of the compliance responsibilities and things like that. So yes, getting my fingers in some of the underwriting and the broking side, but really sort of taking sort of a step back and trying to oversee everything that goes on.
Great. The more kind of holistic picture of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, London Marine started in 2001, so it's been going quite a while now. Lloyd's of London broker. And, we've really been marine focused for a number of years.
Yeah.
But in the last, I suppose the last few years, we've, business on the marine side has grown, and especially on the yacht side, which is, I'm sure, what we're going to chat about in a bit.
Of course.
But also on other areas. And what London Marine has always focused on is not trying to be everything to all men. There's plenty of very large companies out there doing all sorts of insurance. So we've always tried to focus on niche areas where you're not just fighting with the big guys, but you can also bring added value. So it's not just price driven. You're looking at levels of service, and we always strive to be sort of best in class from the service that we provide the whole way through. From the yacht underwriting, from the front end, how we manage our accounts, and also the back end. So it's, that's why the Inslay system has been fantastic for us. That's helped us improve our service.
Great. And I guess since 2001, you've seen a lot of progression in terms of the insurance industry as a whole, and kind of throughout kind of company trajectory as well. So
yeah, very much so. So in the industry, I'm sure Zuzana will talk about it, but the yacht market has been very up and down, and it's on a real growth strategy at the moment. But yes, there's definitely been a move towards a different way of working. So half of that was driven by COVID for obvious reasons and the pandemic, but also it's the recognition that just employing more people is not the answer. You need to work smarter. And that comes into, how you bring in the new systems and how you work with that.
Of course, yep. And obviously being called London Marine, one would assume that marine and yacht insurance is the key focus. Would you say that is the case, or is there kind of coverage that you provide to different areas as well?
It has been for 20 odd years, and the managing director, Duncan Thompson, is a mariner through and through. So he's been on both the underwriting and the broking side in most elements of marine business. So yeah, that was how the business started. But as we're growing, we're developing into new areas. So we'll always have London Marine. That is absolutely our focus, and it's what we've built our reputation on. But we're also expanding into slightly connected, but slightly different areas as well.
Great, that's really good to know. And I guess the next kind of area or theme or topic of discussion would be the trigger point to lead you both to, or London Marine as a whole, to search for software. So it'd be really interesting to understand if you had any objectives before you kind of started that journey, and any targets you had to kind of, because I think software is one of those things where it's absolutely huge, and there's many different parts of it. There's lots of different moving parts, and sometimes it's used as a bit of a buzzword as well.
Yeah.
I think the latest buzzword of today is AI, but software has obviously been around for a long time. So it'd be good to have a little bit of understanding or background from your side about how that software journey looked.
Yeah, I mean, the mention of AI is almost sort of a side, because Susie and I were talking about this earlier. The fact that, you know, it's how we service our customers is really key for us. And whilst we recognise that we needed a more automated process to be more efficient, and the company has grown. I mean, specifically in the yacht sector, it's grown fourfold in the last sort of 18 months, 2 years.
Wow.
That's a lot of business.
It's impressive.
And we came to a point where it was either we look to employ a lot more people or we try and work smarter.
Yeah.
And Susie's, you know, spent an immense amount of time developing a system. So it's streamlined processes, but it's also the human touch. So for us, yes, I know AI is a big buzzword and there's lots of people doing lots of things, but it's the fact that, you know, and Zuzana will come on to it in a minute, but it's the fact that the producers will pick up the phone. They want to have a chat with Zuzana. They want to, you know, from a personal point of view. And I think with the insurance market, there's always that personal side that we would not want to lose. Yes, we want to be automated, be really efficient and be smart, but you wouldn't want to lose that human touch.
That human touch, absolutely. I mean, it was a year into a launch of our yacht facility when we sort of recognized we do need a software. It was a team of 4 of us, and we worked we quoted on a spreadsheets. We calculated everything with the calculators. We had a separate spreadsheet working for the accounts. We had a separate spreadsheet working for claims. So over the time, we sort of thought, you know, this is becoming a little bit unsustainable. We do need a software which would take away all the administration workload from us. We did interview quite a few software companies to start with. They did offer what we thought, this is what we need. However, it became apparent that Inslee will be the best fit for us, not only because the software or the platform would handle everything what we require from the platform to do. Also, we found that the developers or the engineers behind it were very knowledgeable about vocabulary of insurance, within insurance, and that was also the key difference of what I have found out comparing it with another software companies.
Yeah, of course, that makes sense. And it's really interesting the fact that you've gone through that journey, because I think a lot of different people and companies have a lot of different experiences when they kind of go through that journey. So it'd be interesting to find out maybe a little bit more about your challenges when you were in that phase, and when you were kind of looking around and interviewing different companies. Maybe there's 1 or 2 key challenges that stood out to you. I think you've already mentioned the vocabulary piece, which is nice, but there might be 1 or 2 more.
It's not just a system. It's understanding the processes, and I think that was key. And I know Susie spent a lot of time with the developers, explaining to them not just the nuts and bolts, but actually what we needed to achieve out of the back end. And I think spending that time before we even started. So it's, you know, understanding how we needed to use the system. It's not just data management. It's making sure those key elements were included and understood. So not just we need this from A to B. It's understanding how we need to use it, how the data spits out the back of it.
Absolutely. I mean, from a yacht point of view, you will surely agree with me that no one yacht is the same. No is navigating in the same waters. So we were looking for a software which could be flexible enough to cope with all of our matrices, how to calculate the premium in different regions. It needed to be able to cope with our loadings, discounts in particular part of the world, and with our guidelines and our rules. So I guess that was really important for us to find the flexibility of the system that it could cope with all of our requirements.
Of course.
And also with the growth, just building on what Susie was saying there, with growth, that's not just geographic specific. So the growth would be across the world. So whilst we needed a system that would deal with certain aspects of the areas that we're working in now, we needed a system that could grow with us as we grow. So if there are any specifics of certain geographic regions, we need to be able to plug those into the system. And the one thing the Inzo system seems to be able to do, or is doing for us, is growing with us. So as we need to make changes, whether it's currency or, you know, basic things, the system can cope with that. And that was key, because we, like most people, when you're growing, you've got your starting point. You don't know where that growth point is exactly going to go in the future.
Yeah.
So you need someone that's got that agility and the flexibility to move with us, and that, you know, Susie was very confident that the Inslee system would do that with us and for us.
Great. No, that's really helpful for my understanding and for our viewers as well. And it makes a lot of sense how the challenges or the use cases then kind of were the narrative or the driving force for software as well. So that's really interesting. And obviously going from Excel and multiple spreadsheets to a
Yes.
system must have been quite the change.
It was a huge change. I mean, to cope with multiple spreadsheets, we are all humans. We do human errors. And if error occurs, you know, it affects the whole, affects the underwriting, the accounting on the back of it as well. So yeah, replacing calculators and spreadsheet with a platform is a must, yeah.
And when you're dealing with a volume of business, you need to try and eke out those sort of areas of you know, human error as much as you can. So if there's, you know, processes that are the same over and over again, if you've got an automated system that knows that, you know, you are reducing the chances of
Probability of error. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. And a lot of our customers, they have a similar journey where they've come from that background of using Excel and multiple sheets. So it's a big kind of step for them to kind of alleviate themselves from not all of the human error, but obviously a large majority of it, which is really helpful.
And I
So
think it's also building trust in the system, because you know what it's like when you've got Excel spreadsheets and you've kind of you've got your fingers in that data, and then you go to a fully automated or more automated system. It's, to start with, it was almost, Susie had to take a leap of faith to go, yep, it's going to work, and we're going, and that was quite scary at the time, but it worked well.
Definitely.
yeah, of course. And you made a really good point about saying we're all human as well. I mean, you know, when you're so used to working in a certain way and kind of it's repetitive processes as well, right? So when you move away from that, there is a bit of kind of the scare factor or the fear factor, if you like, of, you know, do we have the confidence to fully move over? So I think that makes
I mean, the
complete
important
sense.
thing really on this one was that while we've been launching the system and giving our trust to the system, we did run the manual processing in the background for a certain amount of time to give us the confidence or to address any tweaks that need to be done within the system. So
Yeah, like a crossover period.
absolutely,
Before
yes.
switching
And then you have
on
to go,
100%.
oh, we're changing.
And then you just have to sort of go for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, no, of course. And obviously your the next kind of step in the narrative from exploring different providers and software and speaking to those providers to see if they can help you is the decision phase. And then after that, there's the kind of the journey of onboarding and implementation of that system and that software, basically. So it would be great if you could provide some some words on how that journey was for you, the whole kind of onboarding process and the implementation process.
Yeah, I would sort of say that from the day that the agreement was signed, we've been assigned a developer or customer a relation officer, if you want to say that way, and who was liaising directly with me. As since I was the lead underwriter on the facility, I knew exactly what I want to build. We were working intensively for a good part of a year. From setting up the platform itself, the matrix and the calculating logic behind it. And so it took us a good part of a year. I have provided all the templates, what I want that the platform will produce at the end. I would say that we are, before we launch, I know that the client liaison officer would attend our office and would spend good amount of time going through the process, making any tweaks if needed before we launch into a live environment. So we've been good part of a year in a testing environment.
Yeah.
I think that's key, is having that point of contact both sides, because you've got to have that understanding, and that only develops over time. So what, again, a key decision for us was the fact that Inslee were prepared to dedicate one person. So you've got your point of contact.
Yeah.
Now, Zuzana was our leading it from our side, and she did an amazing job. And we needed someone from the other side. So we've got that straight through conversation. You get to know each other. And so it's, when things aren't quite working out, you can pick the phone up or you can have a meeting. But I think if we had to work with a group of people from the other side, that would have, I think, presented its own challenges. So the fact that we had a dedicated person on the INSO side to work with, and that would be absolutely my recommendation going forward. So if you've got anybody else coming on board, is that you've got that point of contact in either company, and that's where the information flow goes between the two of them, because otherwise you can lose things in context or in conversations.
Yeah, of course. And I think at least over the past 12 months, we've been developing that customer success function within Insley as well. So I think that's really helpful, because then it kind of helps that conversation between that dedicated person and yourselves as well. And I completely agree. If it's a group of people, one phrase or one sentence might mean one thing to one person, but multiple things to multiple people, and then you've got multiple kind of points that you've got to worry about. So
yeah, and having someone on the INSO side that understands insurance as well. So you're not having to explain terminology and things. I know Zuzana touched on that earlier, but that was also very straightforward for us. So you're not having to explain what you do and what you need. So that was great.
Yeah, we worked out a really easy pattern between us. I mean, every new subject or new task we've been building on, it was a brand new email, brand new subject line. So we worked out really well our communication, how we like to communicate as well. So it was really straightforward. And as I said, as we already agreed, that all the developers or the developer that was in charge to work on this project with us was very knowledgeable about the insurance, knew what is endorsement. I don't needed to explain what is endorsement, knew how to add on percentages and the loadings on it. So could also advise me on the technical side. So it was also a learning for me, so I could learn a little bit of coding. So as we were processing and creating the program, I was getting quite more proficient on the coding itself, so I could myself tweak a couple of
some of the elements,
the elements of that. So I no needed to sometimes rely on them or wait for them. He already taught me how to adjust it within the software.
Proactive approach.
Absolutely,
kind of helps. Yes. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then what about the team's experience of using the software? So is there kind of multiple underwriters within the team? Is there anyone else or a different user type, for example, that would use the software apart from the underwriting team?
Yeah, absolutely. We have our finance team and we have our claims team. So on the underwriting is a team of 2. And I always made sure that from beginning, all our teams are involved in the development. I think this is a key for you to achieve the right program or right platform. So I made sure that the finance team is on board, the same as the claims team, and we developed the program at the same pace and at the same time. So they are learning as we go also the program, how it works. The finance can understand the underwriting, how we work out the premiums, and the claims would add their comments, what they want to see from their point of view, what kind of information they want to see and reflect. So I think it's really important to implement, to get the key person from each of your departments to work with you while developing this software.
I think that was absolutely key for us, because while Susie was all over the development, it's when you bolt in the other aspects that you need, they've got to have the understanding of what the system's going to do and how it's going to work, because, from their point of view, they need different data. So Susie's obviously using it for underwriting, but then the information's also got to go in different directions. So getting their buy-in to the system was really important.
Yeah, in a sense, it's kind of like, I think there's kind of like 2 very key points there. I think the first one is kind of the stakeholder management of all the people who will be using the system. But then at the same time, there's that learning and development aspect as well. I think the shared learnings amongst the team they can help propel things forward a little bit faster as well. So
yeah, and we're quite a small team, and it's a close team, so we had the ability to have everybody together to share that development sort of journey. I think that was also really helpful. So again, anyone else going into this, get your stakeholders, get them all together, get them all involved, and then what comes out of the other end really works for everybody.
Yeah, makes complete sense. And then I think if we were to go one layer or one level deeper, I think the question would then basically be, your specific underwriting and financial and distribution and claims processes. Each one of them, sometimes they're very different things, but sometimes they can work very closely together as well.
Absolutely. I mean, underwriting and claims have to work in sync. I need to know whether a claim has happened on a policy. I need to know the details of it. I mean, for me, it is very important to have this information ready for renewals. So I would say that we are at the moment able to hold all the information under one platform, under one policy. So the claims team can easily refer to the underwriting side where we collect all the information, all the subjectivities, so they can refer what the application form was, where it was signed in, let's say the hurricane plan, whether the client has complied with the hurricane plan. And also they can verify whether the payment on the policy has been made. So they don't need to refer separately to the finance team. They can readily see the information on the platform.
Yeah, there's no need to do multiple checks because there's one kind of common anomaly, which
Is
is
a common anomaly,
which is the
absolutely. So
system.
the claims team would collect all the information and have it ready for me. So the platform is able to hold and handle the document, also the size of the documents. You don't need to store it elsewhere within your computer drives. It can hold multiple heavy size documents as well, which you can sort of subhead for claims, subhead for you can sort of segregate it between underwriting and claims, but they are readily available for the whole team.
Yeah, that's really useful. And I guess from if you temporarily zoom out from a financial and accounting and a reporting process perspective, that probably makes things a lot easier because you have, instead of having multiple or different points, for example, it's all there. So
it's all there. I mean, the system is, what I liked about the system is also the reporting side. The reporting side I found is very flexible and you could custom make it to what you like, what fields you want, that they are appearing on the report from the data entry. Finance team can run their own reports, whether it is the debtors reports or whether it is the payment bordereaux. Claims team can run their own reporting, and me underwriting also, whether it is a fleet reporting. As long as the data is there available at the entry point, you can run really customizable reporting.
And I think the other thing that we dug into was the data mapping. So, from what Susie does on the front end, all the data's going in there, and we know it's accurate, and but it's I think for us the step that we needed to consider was how that data comes out the back of the system into our finance system, because we've got an automated finance system, and making sure that those pipes, effectively everything links up. So we were 100% certain what was going in the front end from Susie's side was right. And again, the data's there, so it's making sure we understand how that data comes out into either the claims or the finance system. And that's, that was seamless. That all worked really well.
Absolutely. Also on the reporting side, the platform is able to create and generate automated reports and is able to email the reports directly to designate a person of your choice. So let's say every end of the month you would want to have a report on binds you have done. So you can pre-program the platform to do this report for you and email it to you or email it to your, facility manager. So it's, definitely great positive.
And I guess for like, if you take a specific example like claims, for example, like you'd want your designated claims person to know what the loss ratios are, how they're being impacted, etc. So I guess having that is quite interesting. And I think from a user type perspective as well, Alex, there's probably different metrics you would like to see, and Zuzana, there's probably different metrics you'd like to see as well. So I think that ability probably really helps your visibility and probably gives you a little bit of foresight on improvements to make or changes coming up in the future or how things are being impacted in a certain way. So
yeah, from a performance point of view, I'm looking at different things to Susie. Susie's obviously, she needs her underwriting data, and I need performance from a sort of a corporate standpoint. With regard to claims, I think it's worth saying we haven't actually bolted in the claims element of the system yet, because touch wood, things are relatively steady on the claim side. But obviously, as the account grows, then we know we've got the flexibility within the INSAE system to bolt on additional modules to make everything more streamlined. So, that's something we would look to at the future. But yeah, I think the fact that I can extract the data that I need from a corporate performance, Susie's got her underwriting data, it can provide all their different elements. So, I think that's been also really helpful. Again, understanding what the system can do has been fantastic.
Yeah, capabilities, etc.
Yeah, very much so.
Yep. And then from a distribution perspective, or partner perspective, there's probably a network or a set of brokers that you work with, for example. So I guess from that journey of managing everything on multiple spreadsheets to now having the system, how has that kind of relationship changed with those brokers or those partners from a distribution perspective?
So from an insurer point of view, so our capacity, they're over the moon. The fact that we've taken the step, we've committed time, energy, and effort to developing this, and they are really, really happy because any reports they want, we can generate for them, and the fact that it's all there, and we've got almost a bespoke system. They're really happy. From a producer point of view, Susie?
From a producer point of view, I would say that we pride ourselves that we do respond to all our inquiries within 24 hours. And with this platform, we are able to do so. So all our emails are answered within 24 hours. All of the quotes and policies are released almost immediately. So they're really happy with our services, what we provide. And also what I found when traveling, I can just plug and play, really, have a laptop with me, having a Wi-Fi. I can plug into the system without having to rely on paper files or files left in the office.
Yep.
I could probably indicate, a quote on a vessel, from my hotel room. So they would not even notice that I travel. Having this system also, we're working with the time differences. Most of our clients are based in the US. So I would say that the program is really efficient. So we are able to respond to clients where the time is really a constraint. Yes.
And we've had some great feedback. So from the producers, Susie's always done an amazing job, but this has given her another tool to be able to improve on an already first-rate service. And I think asking our producers, getting some feedback from them was really interesting. Have they noticed any difference? And they say, look, the turnaround is so much quicker. It's just really spot on. So it was really nice to get that feedback. So from my side, I was going, so can you tell me how it's going? And it's like, yeah, we love it. We're amazing. We love Susie anyway, but
yes.
This has just made things a lot easier. So they're really seeing a step up in that service level from us.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And it makes sense, right? Like if you have spreadsheets that are saved to like a local device in the office and you're traveling and everything's now cloud based, it just speeds things up. And then when you return from traveling, your list of to-dos is hopefully a little bit smaller.
It's much smaller, and the amount of emails what you wake up to is much smaller because everything has been done and completed. It has been taken care of. So all the let's say you receive a huge amount of subjectivity, which are files which we need to upload. You can upload it there and then, so you don't need to wait for coming back to the office. Even the communication within your team members is much more efficient, having everything on a file. They can cross-check, in my absence, what has been done, what has been uploaded, what needs to be done, what is still outstanding. The platform is able to remind you also that there are outstanding subjectivities or things you're waiting for from the client. So the clients find it really efficient also as a reminders that we are able to remind them about certain things.
Yeah, we've also reduced any sort of duplication of task because, everybody has their own way of doing things, and where everybody's working in the same system, all the data's in one place. People aren't editing a spreadsheet and saving it to a local drive or looking at different things. We're guaranteed that wherever you sign in from, whether it's from the underwriting side, from the claims side, or from finance side, everybody's looking at the same data set. They're not saving it and editing it and doing whatever. It is all there. So you've always got an up-to-date look at data from any direction, which I think, again, that's been really key.
Yeah, and that's so helpful from a productivity perspective as well, because I think I can't count the amount of times that I've emailed someone or called someone to say, where did you save that file on SharePoint?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, that's really interesting. And then in terms of kind of since the implementation or the onboarding, what does that measurable ROI piece look like for you as well? Because I think for a lot of our customers, I think the three main things are the time saving, because a lot of the admin gets reduced. It's maybe the increase in sales, or it's, you know, from a cost perspective, because things are done in that quicker time. They're done at a lower cost
I
as
would have said
well.
it's,
So
it's all three of those we've seen, okay? And especially on the last one, because when we were looking at, again, come back to the growth factor, you grow your account 4 times.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to make a decision. Does that mean you need X amount more staff? You know, which is training, which is, you know, there's costs involved with whatever you're going to do when you're going to grow an account. But having looked at this, you know, from all three of those perspectives, it genuinely has delivered savings for us. and
Absolutely.
efficiencies.
Absolutely. I would sort of add as well that you can focus on underwriting, you can focus on marketing your products rather than focusing on, you know, the backlog of the admin, what you have to go. So let's say processing one quote, what it used to take me half an hour, now takes me 10 to 15 minutes to work out the price, following obviously my guidelines. But the platform is able to give me different warnings, what I'm looking at. So I would say, you know, we doubled our productivity really.
Yeah, and in terms of investment, if we hadn't had the system and we hadn't brought in a system, then we'd have had to employ a lot more staff to manage the growth and manage the systems and everything. So this has definitely given us the edge.
Yeah, of course. And I guess the growth piece and the growth factor that you mentioned about, it's not always, you know, scalable to hire people on a consistent basis. So
Yeah.
that's really interesting. And I think, you know, one of the things that, you know, a lot of companies who grow really fast, they have that scaling issue, right? You know, is what do we do when we encounter the need for more people or for more resources? So yeah, that makes complete sense. And it's very interesting because you've already mentioned it without me even asking, but the productivity piece. So that means that any time, for example, that is saved, it can go on to adding value to other areas of the business. It sounds like that because I think you mentioned marketing, so my ears perked up. But
Yeah,
that's
very much.
interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's giving Caesar time to have sort of richer conversations with our producers. So, you know, as I keep going back, it's a person industry. So whilst we can automate as much as we can, it's still having those conversations, and what the system's allowed Susie to do is to have better conversations with people, because she's got a bit more time to do
And
that.
developing new products, you know, something what we get the feedbacks, what is needed, what is required. So from a yacht underwriting, so we could focus on that, bringing up a new product. But also it gives me a time to focus on developing this platform even further from what it needed. You know, the product is evolving all the time. Platform needs to be updated with the current, you know, let's say AI we are now working on, that the platform would be able to read over application forms directly. Let's say we scan the application form and it will input the data to the platform. So it gives me a time to focus on those developments, which again going to benefit us. Yeah.
I think the other benefit for us is that having gone through the pain barrier with getting it set in for the yachts and going through all of that development process from our side, because you do have to commit, you know, people and time, otherwise, you know, it's never going to work. But where the company again is growing, we're looking at different product areas. Now, whilst the system's been set up to specifically deal with the yacht account, there's no reason why we can't edit and amend and grow the system to manage other product areas, whether they're marine or outside the marine environment. And that, again, that having that flexibility to look at different areas has also was very key in our decision making process at the time.
Yeah, that's really helpful to know actually, because then it kind of gives you that future outlook piece.
Yeah.
Instead of putting that off until tomorrow or the following week or the following month. It actually actively gets you thinking about it, from what it sounds like, which is really good. So I guess on that basis, is there any new product lines on the horizon, or is the focus solely on
yeah,
growth?
there are a
They
few new
are.
product
Yeah,
lines which
few
we're
new
just
product
working
lines.
at the
Exciting.
moment. So there's a few more on the marine side, and then some other areas that are outside the marine environment. But again, we always look for niche areas. So as I said right at the start, there's no point us going in swimming with the other sharks in the big pool. So where we can really add value, whether that's efficient service, that whole provision of something different, something unusual that we'll spend the time working on. So yeah, there's a few other areas that we're looking to go into, and yes, Inslow would definitely be part of that development process because it's proved to be so efficient that why wouldn't we roll it out to other areas?
Yeah, of course. And that's really interesting because I think people or companies, for example, they get to a certain stage and they just want to try everything. It's really refreshing to hear the fact that obviously you'll continue to explore niches and be the best in class for them.
Yeah.
So that's a really good place to be. Okay. And then I guess it sounds to me like you've had a successful implementation of the software. So I think you're well within your rights and merit to maybe give a little bit of advice to other MGAs or other insurance companies who are going through a similar transition or they're thinking about it. If you had to give them a few words from your perspective, what would those words be?
Just make the time to plan and develop before you actually go headlong into it. So make sure you know from your side what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
But I think where you start and where you end up, never where you think you're going to end up. But it's having someone, Susie was dedicated more or less to this. Yes, she was still underwriting, but having her, supreme knowledge on the front end. Don't just appoint someone that isn't doesn't understand the product. You've got to have that product knowledge and what you want to achieve and be really clear on your objectives and what the system needs to do.
Absolutely. I would also add, select a few teams. Let's say select one from your finance, select from one from your claims. Select a key personnel who will work on the development because it is intensive work. Yeah. You do need to put the work in, but it's manageable. And within a year, you will see the rewards.
But it's that's the stakeholders from both sides, making sure everybody that needs to be there is understanding why you're doing and that, yes, it can be quite painful. We're not sort of IT systems people, so is having to understand that. But getting that buy-in from your stakeholders within your own company was really key for us, and that made it smoother.
Yeah, of course. It's like a squad from each department who are like a driving force, basically.
Yeah. Absolutely, because each department has to bring their own, elements, what they like to see. So from the system, but it also will be a learning from them. So get to involve them from the very early on. Do not let people sort of saying, no, I'm not going to sit out this one. You do need to stay on the Zoom calls while you're creating this, even if you're just listening, because you're learning about the product as well.
Yeah.
Actually, that's really key because it's very easy for people to say, oh, look, you're talking about an element that's not my element. But I think unless people understand why you're moving in that direction and how it all pins together, then I think you can sometimes lose a story. So yeah, that's a really important point.
Yeah, of course. And something may not make sense on a 1 hour Zoom meeting, but 3 weeks on, you can refer back to it. And it's like, I remember why we've done that now. It makes complete sense. So that's really good. I think that is the end of my questions. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Anything else that's in the pipeline? You've already mentioned the focus on kind of expanding the yacht and marine from a niche perspective. But any other closing comments from your side?
We were chatting about this earlier, and it's linking up some of the other people that are using the Inslow system because, I'm very much someone who thinks that the more you talk, the more you share, the more you learn. So understanding how other people are using the systems, because I think that would be really helpful because we've developed what we think is great and it works for us, but it's engaging with other people that have an Inslow system and so how did you use it? What have you done? And I think that would help all of us to say, oh, actually that's a really good idea, or we haven't done it like that, we've done it like this and it really works. So I think having a user group network or something like that, I think would be, we would see the benefit in that, being able to share with others and find out what they've done, because whilst you think you've done everything right when someone else goes, actually, we did it like that. And you go, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that could be helpful.
I think that could be helpful. We could learn from each other. We all went through the same process.
course,
We
yeah.
understand how the platforms work. So it will be interesting for me from my side. I'm very curious, whether there is something what I haven't thought of and could benefit me. And the other way around as well. So I think, having these maybe a monthly, even if it is on a Zoom, little catch-up groups, with your key selected personnel, that will be useful.
Yeah, of course. No, we did make reference to that off camera, so I think it's good
Yeah.
to mention it again because that is something that we could potentially develop and something that could be in the works quite soon, to be honest. So we
And
could
I
keep.
think, understanding. So if someone started the process and if they're having problems, you can sort of network to resolve those problems. I think that would be helpful. And I think if we'd have had maybe someone else at the time to answer some of the questions or, maybe hold our hands on some things, I think that could have proven quite useful. So I think if you've got people like us, users, that it's really working and, looking to expand it, tap into that knowledge.
Yeah, of course. It's like shared learnings, and I think everyone can benefit from that so much. So makes complete sense. Awesome. Well, Alex, Zuzana, thank you very much for joining us on the Inslee Insights episode that we are having today. To all of our audience, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps us to do more amazing interviews like this, and we really appreciate it. So, yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.